Okay, imagine this. It's a time before radar, and the only way you know that silent death is coming from the sky is to listen. Now, what you're looking at, these aren't some kind of alien relics or weird modern art. No, these were Britain's very first line of defense against a terrifying new kind of warfare. And believe me, their story is one of the strangest in all of military history.
For centuries, you see, the English Channel was basically a giant moat, a fortress wall. But then, the First World War changed everything. For the very first time, enemy bombers could just fly across the water, and the entire nation felt terrifyingly vulnerable. There was literally no way to know they were on their way until the bombs started falling.
So what was the answer? It wasn't some complex new machine, oh no. It was something way, way stranger. Giant ears, made of solid concrete.
So let's get a good look at these things. They're officially called acoustic mirrors. And yeah, they look like something straight out of an old sci-fi movie, but what they really are is this bizarre and brilliant dead end in the history of technology. You'd find them scattered along the southern and northeastern coasts of England, and they were all designed to do just one thing, and one thing only. To sit there and listen for that low, humming drone of approaching enemy engines miles and miles out over the sea.
But why? I mean, why go to such strange, monumental lengths? Well, the reason was born from the absolute terror of the First World War.
German Zeppelin raids, Gotha bomber raids, they had completely shattered Britain's long-held sense of being safe on their island. That chilling phrase, "the bomber will always get through," it really captured this new national panic. They desperately needed some kind of early warning system.
So the problem they were facing was something called the time-altitude gap. Here's what that means. By the time you could actually hear an approaching plane with your own ears, it was already too late. Your own pilots couldn't scramble, get off the ground, and climb high enough to actually intercept them.
The whole challenge was just to hear the enemy sooner. And this brings us to the absolute genius behind these concrete ears, Major William Sansone Tucker. This was a man who literally figured out how to weaponize sound.
And what's really incredible is where Tucker got his inspiration for his brilliant invention, the hot wire microphone. The story goes that he was in his quarters and noticed a cool draft coming from some mouse holes whenever distant cannons fired. He realized the sound's pressure wave was actually moving the air. So by heating a tiny platinum wire, he could measure the change in its electrical resistance as that moving air cooled it down. He was, in effect, hearing these incredibly low-frequency sounds from miles away.
Now, Tucker's vision for a whole network of these ears went global. His ambition led to the most impressive, most massive sound mirror ever built. But it wasn't on the coast of England. Nope, it was far, far away on a tiny little island in the middle of the Mediterranean.
The big plan was to create an imperial ear network to protect key outposts of the empire. But it turns out Gibraltar was too noisy with all the wind and people. And Singapore, well, Singapore had too many insects whose buzzing would have drowned everything out. Only Malta had the perfect, quiet conditions needed for a gigantic 200-foot-wide listening ear, which the locals, very appropriately, nicknamed Il Widna, the ear.
And you know what? It worked. In trials, Il Widna could actually pick up the sound of a single aircraft engine from over 25 miles away. I mean, that is a massive improvement over the 5-mile range of just the human ear.
But, and this is a big but, here's where the math starts to work against the mirrors. For an airplane flying at 250 miles per hour, which was fast becoming the norm, that 25-mile detection range only gave you a 6-minute warning. That window of time was shrinking fast.
And then came the final nail in the coffin. During a huge, critical demonstration for all the top military brass in 1936, the system completely failed. It didn't detect the target aircraft at all. So you couple that embarrassing failure with that shrinking warning window, and its fate was sealed. Il Widna was taken out of service by 1937.
So you see, the acoustic mirror wasn't a failure of physics or even of ingenuity. It was really a victim of progress. It was made obsolete by the very same machines it had been built to detect in the first place.
This timeline just perfectly illustrates the problem. Look, the speed of sound doesn't change, but as airplanes got faster and faster and faster, the warning time you got from just hearing them became, well, useless. The technology was stuck in a race against time that it was absolutely destined to lose.
Right at the same time, this new kind of wizardry was appearing on the horizon. Radio direction finding, or as we all know it, radar. It wasn't limited by the speed of sound. It could see enemies from over 100 miles away, in any kind of weather. The concrete ears, as brilliant as they were, became obsolete almost overnight.
And so, the concrete ears fell silent. They just became these strange relics of a forgotten technology. But their true legacy was something you can't see. It was an invisible contribution that would prove to be absolutely vital in the war that was just around the corner.
Here's the twist. Tucker's program had accidentally created something revolutionary, the world's first ever network of interconnected early warning stations, all feeding their data back to a central plotting room, all in real time.
Think about it. This entire command and control infrastructure, the stations, the communication lines, the methods for plotting enemy positions, it was a blueprint for victory. And it was handed over, fully formed, directly to the early radar teams. This gave them a critical head start, just in time for the Battle of Britain.
Today, these strange and beautiful structures have found a second life. They're protected monuments now, kind of like fossils from a bygone technological age. And they've become these haunting backdrops for Vogue fashion shoots, for art installations, and even for music videos by artists like The Prodigy and Nicki Minaj.
You know, the story of the concrete ears is just such a powerful reminder that innovation isn't always a straight line. Sometimes, even the most brilliant dead ends can end up echoing far, far into the future, and in the most unexpected ways.
If you love uncovering these strange, forgotten, but fascinating stories of the ideas that really shaped our world, you've got to subscribe to Hindsight History. We've got plenty more explainers just like this one coming your way.